everybody. I am an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. My position disclosure is the same. I don't have any VIX options anymore. I did not put any Novembers on. Otherwise, everything's the same. All right. Crazy day today. Let's try to have a review of it. We also have Tesla out here after hours and IBM out here after hours. Those are probably the two most important ones. I did not look at the IBM report. It's trading down. Let's take a quick look. IBM third quarter revenue is a beat. Operating EPS is a beat. Revenue is a beat. Not seeing any guidance on here. Oh, they see their fiscal year free cash flow above estimates. Not really sure what's hitting IBM down here unless there's some aspect of guidance that I don't see, because that report looks okay to me. Tesla's report, fairly mixed. Tesla's trading pretty much exactly where it closed, about $1.50 under where it closed. It's after it had a quick downtick to as low as 429, a quick uptick to as high as like 445 and change. Maybe not even that high, actually. That was from earlier in the day. Quick uptick to as much as 443, I should say. Tesla report here. So we don't have any guidance. I guess that comes from the call. So we got to wait and see on that. Sorry, I just got filled. But as far as their third quarter numbers go, operating income is a miss by a tiny bit. Adjusted EPS is a decent miss, 50 cents versus an estimate of 54 cents. But their third quarter revenue is a solid beat. Their gross margin is a small beat, and their free cash flow is a huge beat. And free cash flow has been a problem for Tesla in the past. So that's a pretty good one. I honestly have mixed feelings about the report as I'm reading it here, because on the one hand, we're still waiting to see if we get some guidance, but on the one hand, I feel like that solid beat in free cash flow, a little beat in gross margin, a little beat in revenue, despite the misses in operating income and adjusted EPS, I almost would think would be enough to actually boost the stock higher. With that said, you're already looking at like one of the most overvalued stocks in the entirety of the stock market. Just kind of obscene. So when I see that these numbers are, small misses and moderate beats, it just, I don't know, it doesn't do anything for me. And then they coupled it with a whole bunch of word salad, Cybercab, Tesla Semi, and Megapack 3. We're on schedule for volume production starting in 2026. First generation production lines for Optimus are being installed in anticipation of volume production. Just more of the same stuff here from Tesla that we kind of always see, which is a lot of promises about the future, but not much going on in the here and now. Kind of very consistent with this company. But it's been the storytelling of Elon Musk that has enabled the stock to stay as expensive as it has for so long. So you should never count this one out. So we'll see what happens with the call. We'll see if we get some guidance on the call. But for the moment, we've got Tesla trading small down on the report. Does not seem to be having any impact on the Qs. Qs and SPYs are pretty flat here from where they closed. So we'll keep an eye on that, and let's jump into kind of the normal part of our meeting. So we had a down day today. SPY's down 0.5%, nothing crazy. The Qs are down 0.9%, actually a little bit more than that, like a full percentage point in the Qs. That's a little bit more exciting. The IWM got fairly smoked, down 1.5% or so. The Dow down 0.8%. It's pretty rare that either pre-market or post-market or any time that the SPYs are down less than either the Dow, Qs, or IWM. It's pretty rare. Usually the SPY is like the midpoint, right? Like Qs are up and IWM is down, and the IWM, the SPY is at the midpoint. Or even if everything's down on a percentage basis, the SPY is more towards the midpoint. But for whatever reason today, the actual S&P held up better than any of the other indexes. So that is a bit notable. The dollar finished down, TLT finished up. Gold did finish small green, so that was able to rally back. Silver finished green. Bitcoin, this crypto is interesting because it's getting smoked and you can't bring the market down. I mentioned Bitcoin in the morning meeting today a good bit, and the other cryptos. So the IBIT ETF is down 3.75%, almost 4%. Ethereum's down 5.5%. Solana is down 7.5%. Really smoked on that Solana today, and Solana is testing month lows. Ethereum's not quite there, but it's pretty close. Bitcoin's not quite there, but it's obviously weakening out a little bit. The interesting thing about that is just once again,
is there proper training happening here when it comes to ICE?
It once again just seems like nothing can actually really hit this market down in a sustained way. Like, we've seen an insane VIX spike not be able to cause the market to actually trigger our more important systematic sell levels. We've seen crypto here now getting completely smoked and not be able to really impact the equity market. It seems like nothing can really impact the equity market. There's just so much downside cushioning at the index level here, whether it's, take your pick. It's the retail bid, it's the unwinding of hedges. One of the biggest ones out there that we probably haven't been spending enough time talking about is the positive gamma that's coming from like 0 DTE and 1 DT options. I mentioned this briefly in the morning meeting also. Like, I spent a lot of time discussing and talking about more of like the gamma levels in the market that are a little bit bigger picture, which, at one point, I forget, late September, early October, it was like $11 billion to buy or something, which means into a 1% down move, you run into $11 billion worth of buying. I mean, it's just massive. But we rolled that down to as small as like $2.5 billion, and I'm just kind of going off memory here with some of the numbers from Goldman, because again, different banks, different models give you slightly different numbers. Actually, no, I think Goldman said we even went negative. It was the Bank of America one that said that we rolled down to positive 2.5 billion. But there's been a really large impact on the market as well from the 0 DTE option sellers that have been coming into the market. Particularly, we keep talking about this Lieutenant Legger, who I think was back today. Someone wants to remind me exactly what price. Sounds like he made money again today, but probably was a little bit nervous when the market was at lows. I think it was, there it is, yep, 6675, more or less, for the S&P. He was probably feeling a little nervous when the market was at lows, but still managed to be in the money there. But like that guy, and I'm not sure what the size was today, but it's just creating such an insulating effect on the market, the 0 DTE stuff and the hedging that's ongoing. Where Bill K has mentioned here in the VTF a couple of times, and it seems pretty accurate, that it's almost like the only way that the market could really go down is if it happens overnight. Because as soon as this market's happening, is opening, you're just seeing so much option selling going on, creating such a huge intraday cushioning in the market that creates so much forced buying into like a 1% down move that it becomes impossible for the S&P to go down even more than that. Between Captain Condor and Lieutenant Legger, just continuing to insulate the market. So I struggle to know fully what to make of it. We did have an interesting down day today, and I would circle back to a couple key points that I made in the morning meeting today. Like, if you're a bear in this market right now, things are not looking good for you, because the technicals have gotten super bullish starting on Monday. We really were able to break that level in the SPYs that I have been looking at on a closing basis, really get above the 665, actually not just 665, but 670. The Qs were able to fully negate the October 10th sell-off day. So the market technical picture started to really improve. And on top of that, I've discussed a bunch of times the data that we've seen from Nomura, which is this really interesting situation that we saw last week, very unique situation that we saw last week, where the VIX exploded to the upside as much as it did, but again, the market still never really triggered. And we've discussed multiple times the reason why the market was still so insulated on the downside. It's the gamma stuff that we were just talking about, it's the retail bid that we've been talking about, and it's the unwinding of hedges that people already had that were basically were able to hold this market up and make it so that we didn't trigger the bigger systematic levels. And when that happens, if I remember correctly, there's only 9 times in the history of the look back, where you get like a really big VIX move like that without a correspondingly large S&P sell-off. When that has happened historically, the 9 times, which again is a small data set, 9 out of 9 times after that, the market is higher like a week later, a month later, a quarter later, and a year later. Like, it's just literally, if you look at the chart that came from Nomura, it's just literally green across the board in every historical situation where this has occurred. Again, I would note that there's not a lot of times in which that has occurred. 9 is not a large data set, and every situation is indeed unique. But you're still battling against history to some degree, and we've seen that as the VIX is sold down, it just created a pretty tremendous bid into the market over the course of the last couple of days, and that's to be expected. So you got the bullish technicals, you got that bullish historic look back. On the bear side of things, though, I've been noting 2 main things. One is that we do have a fairly strong week of seasonal weakness here, but it's not a very short period of time. Once you get to like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, that actually starts to turn very, very bullish from pretty much that point all the way through the end of the year. And the other one that I noted is a little bit today, not as much today, but there was a lot yesterday of large institutional bearish option flow that was coming in, which, that tends to be the really smart money, and we're seeing that come in relatively short dated for the most part. So the big thing that I'm saying in the morning meeting today is, if you want to be bearish on this market, you really need us to get below and close below Monday's low across the board, and then at least you lose the bullishness of the technicals. Obviously, you don't lose the bullishness of the historic look back that I discussed, but like I said, every situation is unique, and you've got some bearish seasonality here over the course of the last week. So if you want to be a bear in this market, you needed, as soon as possible, preferably today, for the market to lose Monday's low. And then today happened, and today was a really interesting day. And it was an interesting day because this was one of the weakest days that I can remember. Not that we were ever down massive. SPYs maybe got to like 0.75% down at lows. I don't exactly know or remember what the number was. Sorry, I lost my train of thought as I'm kind of reading the headline there that Bill just posted, and I just got filled on the bid in Tesla. Just give me one quick second. There we go. So back to today's price action. What was very unusual about it is that we actually had like some real selling coming in that was consistent. We had a pretty consistent downtrend ongoing throughout the day today, and it was able to happen without any real new headlines hitting to cause it. And that's probably the most unique part about it. I still, to some degree, feel that even though we've barely had a single down day, we've had very few down days since like the beginning of May. A couple here or there, and obviously the October 10th is the big one. The only down days that we have had have been caused by events. And today was like, wow, we're actually really selling down today, and there wasn't necessarily new news, there wasn't necessarily a new event. It kind of seemed like a lot of the AI trade was fading. We've noted this Oracle, and in the Goldman Sachs note from yesterday morning, it was like, watch Oracle. Oracle's going to tell the tale of AI. It's like the big one to pay attention to, because obviously, if you lose the AI trade, you lose the stock market. If you lose the stock market, in my opinion, you lose the economy. But Oracle, continuing to be weak. Another down day today. Honestly, it's starting to get a little bit extended to the downside. And then the really big one is NVIDIA. I spent a decent amount of time today because they were actually some of my preferred ideas. NVIDIA short and Palantir short. Really spent more time discussing NVIDIA because NVIDIA was only like $1 away when I was doing the morning meeting, as opposed to the Palantir level that I was looking at was significantly further away. But this NVIDIA has held this level day after day after day. I want to guess that there's 30 to 40 tests of 180 that have occurred either during market hours or in the pre-market, and it has more or less held it every single time. It's not a perfect level to the penny 180, obviously. It's a little bit of a zone that kind of extends down to 179, but I kind of thought with the weakness that we're seeing in some of the AI names and with how Oracle's been trading and the continued pressure on NVIDIA 180, I kind of thought that today was the day. So I actually sized up a NVIDIA short position pre-market a bit above 181. Then, of course, they ripped it off the open. I actually added into that rip. And then when they started to break 180 here on this higher volume bar at 1040, I was adding a bit further on the way down as well. Didn't do it on the first touch of that 180. I thought it was just too extended into the level. We've seen that before. But I loved the fact that they bounced it back, created the lower high, went after that 180 again, and I kind of turned on even some more size. And then with the market selling down, the NASDAQ selling down, the AI trade selling down, you get the retest of 180, a retest of 180 failure, new lows actually coming in. At the same time, Palantir, which I was looking at as well for 174, but when I was doing the morning meeting, it was trading $8 above that. It seemed too far away. Was incredibly weak, lost 174, put in a low below 170 on the day today. At a certain point, I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy cow, might actually have this. We might actually have this trade. And the SPYs are starting to lose Monday's low, and the Qs are now at this point well below Monday's low. And then we had an incredible bounce back into the close. And I wonder if any of this had to do with the fact that Oprah was having issues with options at a certain point. The fact that kind of as soon as it came back online is pretty much when the market bottomed out and we began to bounce again. I would love to be able to see hour by hour retail call buying data just to see if they weren't buying into the down move at a certain point because they couldn't, and then all of a sudden they got turned back on and they were like, oh my god, it's a dip and I have to buy it, and we're coming in and laying into the calls as we've seen them do so consistently. Kind of curious about that. And it's also when we saw a lot of the meme stocks really begin to bounce as well. I actually went long both RGTI and QBTS today for day trades. They ended up being really solid but quicker P&L trades for me on the long side. So the bottom line here is, give me a second on this QS. If anybody can let me know the headline, I'd love to know it. Just give me a quick second on this, just because I have a position in this. I unloaded a lot of my QS short during the day today. My remaining position was actually quite small, so this is actually pretty fortunate on this bounce. But if anybody sees a headline on that, I'd love to have my eyes on it, because I do have to manage even the smaller exposure that I have into this up move here real quick. Oh, they had earnings today? I had no idea. I probably should have known that. Usually these like pre-rev companies, when they have earnings, they like don't move on them actually, which is interesting. But this one obviously is. Almost 18 cents versus it. Look at the revenue number, dude. I guess it's up because of the announces shipment of B1 samples. Stock is just the stupidest stock market I've ever traded. I was short this thing the last time I think it reported earnings too, and you know, not much. There wasn't much movement on it, but the movement that did come in came into the downside. I guess as people were just like, oh wait, where's their earnings? All right. I should be just about good to go here. One more. Let me get one more order out. Okay. Yeah, so then we had a really strong rally back into the close, basically, in the market, and the meme stocks all bounced back a little bit. Some of the rare earth stocks bounced back huge with some really big bull flow that was going across. So bull flow in USAR into the end of the day. Bull flow in UAMI. The bull flow in UAMI hit pretty much right here, right before the stock went on this huge tear. The big one, though, is the Quad U. Quad U, consistent $29, $30 calls going off, some of them opening, some of them not, but on huge size, to the point where it made me very nervous. It kind of looks like somebody might know something there. But we will, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I guess that pretty much covers it. I guess just turning over to the daily chart here, the market really quickly. So the low of the day for the SPYs on Monday is 667 quarter. Today, 667 quarter. We closed above that. So we closed above that. And I would say that the more important level that you need to see these SPYs get back below is 665. And we were below that at one point today. We did not close beneath any of that. The Qs, on the other hand, they did close below Monday's low. I ideally would want to see them back below 603. They were below 603 at a certain point today, but they were unable to close below 603. So at the end of the day, it's an interesting trading session. And we'll see if, you know, maybe Tesla's a little bit weak. It seems to be so far. And IBM's a little bit weak. If that can apply some further pressure on things tomorrow or not. But at the bottom line, interesting trading session. I'm remiss to fully put my bear hat back on given the close. I think that there's just too much of a downside tail, and the SPY still closed above Monday's low. So in my opinion, it just isn't quite enough. But you know, we'll see what happens tomorrow. They did shake things up a little bit. You know, there was some real selling coming in on the market without any, you know, genuine headlines that were coming out. But at the end of the day, I'm just not quite sure that it's enough. There we go. I just got filled on some QS bids. Shout out to, I think it was Liam, who let me know that this thing was moving. I wouldn't have even noticed. All right, what do you guys got for me in terms of questions? Questions. I don't think I'm seeing anything in the VTF for the moment. VIXI, for me, I've been slowly piecing out of it. Overall, I pieced out of a lot of it into the move to 15 that it had, you know, pre-market. You can't be long UVIXI for the long term ever, because it only ever goes down because of the decay. I am not fully out of it, but my size has been, you know, reduced, especially after the up move that we actually had. I did give some all the way back, and I'm sticking with some a little bit. I actually reloaded a little bit also now, so it's like I got significantly lighter into the up move. I added some back into the down move, but net, I'm working my way lower in it. Because, you know, again, it's just not something that you can sit in for a long period of time. This is not a position that I really want to have on my books come, like, early November, to be honest. I mean, we'll take things as it comes, because I still got a little bit of time here. But that's pretty much it. It's just not a good product to be long. For Matthew on gold, is a gold short in play? Yes, but you kind of missed it, no? I think you missed it. You know, this thing went fully parabolic to above $400. Gave the gap down yesterday. I kind of think early yesterday, pre-market yesterday, or even 2 trading sessions ago, later in the evening, just because of the degree of parabolic move that you were getting, was the time to be able to short it. I've been saying from the beginning, I prefer to trade like a GDX than an actual GLD. I think it's just a better trading vehicle, and this gave the better setup. It didn't have the strength back to the new high that the GLD did. So the bottom line is, I do think that gold short can still be in play, but you got to kind of let it reset up now a little bit more. That's pretty much it. You got to let it set up now a little bit. You see this thing create a lower high, create a wedge, create some sort of a pivot high that you can then short off of, as opposed to just kind of blindly shorting this as it's bouncing back. It's tough to say. Does the bounce back top out at 377? Does it top out at 392? You know, a little tricky to say. So I would wait for this thing now to reset up and give you a little bit of a better signal to put that trade back on. Yeah, I don't love the long here. I just think that the move was too big and too far. You know, remember the last time this thing gave a really big move, and when it finally settled out, it had to create a range and a wedge for 4 months, 4.5 months to actually be able to break out of that wedge again. I kind of think, I don't know if it needs to be a 4-month pattern, but I kind of think that gold needs to go into some sort of a new setup type of pattern here for either direction, and that the short-term money on the metals is kind of behind us, that short-term faster money. So I hope that helps. Or buying quantum and nuclear on a gap down for an RDR setup. So yeah, I mean, I was buying quantum a little bit today. Hold on 1 second. Got filled again. There we go. Collapse back down for me. QS. I was trading, QBTS and RGTI to the long side here, and caught this bounce really nicely. Wasn't too greedy on it, but man, while I feel like I caught a big bounce, especially with this RGTI, when you look at the daily chart, there is no tail here at all on these things. It gets tricky for me on some of these names here personally, and OKLO is another one that I was short, but I'm out of now. SMR is another one that I was short, but I'm out of it. SMR is all the way down at the support. These trades are tricky for me because I don't believe in these companies. I don't believe in these companies. I think that they belong, all of them, lower, and I'm putting air quotes out that nobody can see. I think that these stocks all belong lower than they're currently trading. I think RGTI has a date with at least $30, if not the 20s. But when I'm looking at a chart here that was this strong and is a retail darling, and it went from $58 to $34 over the course of 6 trading sessions, basically straight down, and is actually starting to get pretty extended to the downside, in terms of what I would rather do right here, right now, and time frames matter, I'd rather be buying this than shorting it. Buying it for the snapback trade on a smaller time frame with less risk and less size, and then waiting for the setup to come back in when it's no longer extended and a new setup actually forms to push in a bigger, better way to the short side. So that's why I bought both of them today, and they both worked, pretty well for me. I had good game plans. I wasn't too greedy. I traded them really well, got out of them at my targets, and moved on, and they worked. So yeah, I do think that you could look for the long now. Especially if you could get the gap down. I got a feeling you're not going to get the gap down. I got a feeling RGTI, QBTS are going to gap up tomorrow, but maybe I'm wrong. That's just a complete hunch. When you look at how weak they closed, you would maybe think that they would gap down. But yeah, I mean, if you could get a gap down to like $30 to $32 in RGTI somehow tomorrow, I would almost certainly be buying that in a big way at that point for a significant bounce back, honestly. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. OKLO, SMR, I think same deal. I'm not believers in these companies. I'm really not. But it doesn't matter. I think that if you ask me right here, OKLO has huge support at 110. It just dropped from 190 plus to 117 in 5 trading sessions. Would I rather be, if I had to buy it or sell it right here, I would rather be a buyer here for the snapback trade. So yeah, we can keep those on the radar, I think, for tomorrow. Apex Joe asking me about gold. Kind of just went over that one. I think that gold needs to reset up. You had the parabolic move. You had a $30-something pullback in GLD to the 21 EMA. I don't think you do anything new here in gold. If you still have a trade on, either long or short, I would say continue to follow the game plan that you have for yourself. But otherwise, it needs to reset up, similar to the last time I went parabolic. Similar to this time I went parabolic. That move is similar but different to me with this move, and I think it needs to reset up. Was there a headline that hit at 12:30 that caused the sell-off that got brought back up? Is the next question from Mr. Trees in the YouTube. The answer is yes. There was a headline that hit that no one understood about Trump and China, and something about like restricting other countries from being able to trade with China if it's the product is made originally in some way in the United States or something like that. It just seemed like a pretty far out headline, and then Scott Bessent was coming out and saying that the only way that stuff could happen is in conjunction with the entire G7, and I don't see the G7 agreeing to that. We saw a headline this morning that Germany's largest trading partner had been the United States, and China just overtook that. So that's obviously a result of our trade war here in the United States, making the rest of the world great again. So you know, I don't see the G7 agreeing to do that. So I think that was a nothing headline. If a product has U.S. software in it, okay. So they bought it back immediately, obviously. You know, immediate. So the market also told us that it's kind of a non-event, that headline. What else? Anything else, guys? Guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, homies and homettes. Now? The stock now? Or now? I don't really look at this service now too much. It's been very, very range bound and sloppy, though it improved 2 trading sessions ago. Oh, QS. What do you think of the QS daily chart? Yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. Huge tail back up in this. There should be some resistance in this $15 to $16 area. I kind of think what TG just said, which is let the dust settle here a little bit. Let's see how it trades tomorrow. Did I take a Tesla long? No, I held Tesla short into the earnings report. Still short. Crypto miners also for RDRs. Yeah, probably goes into the same category as some of those other names that we discussed, Quantum and whatever else. IRN and CLSK. Yeah, I almost don't think that the CLSK is down enough. It's not as down as much in terms of the technical pullback as like some of the quantum names are at this point. Maybe if I could get a look at 15 in the CLSK, I would look to buy into that zone. IRN may be a little bit closer, 47.50 to 45. I might take a look at that for a similar bounce back type of trade. All right. Show up sneaking one in. So even if the truth cannot bring the market down, are we continuing to look bullish here, or better to take one day at a time? That's what I was saying when I was looking at the indexes here. I need the SPYs and Qs to solidly be below Monday's low in order for me to think that the technicals don't look bullish. It doesn't even mean bearish. It means I need them to not look bullish. Like, that's when they don't look bullish to me, not necessarily bearish. And really, I need this SPY back below 665, back into the range from Monday a week ago. And again, that's not even necessarily bearish. Bearish, I need below October 10th low. That's when things will start to look really bearish to me. So it's hard to look at these technicals here, especially with how big of a tail that is down in the Qs, and say that these technicals look not bullish. They do, overall, still. So, but, bears put up a fight today, and so far, Tesla not so good. So far, not terrible either. So far, IBM not so good. So we'll see. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Have a great night. See you all tomorrow.